All right, for the first time in too long, California Democrats look nervous. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. In just 2 weeks, millions of California voters have a chance to end the madness. A state that has it all has been driven into the ground over the last 16 years. The Democrat Party has set up an almost unbeatable apparatus. They have single-party rule, totally consolidating power and creating the most corrupt, dysfunctional government in the country. Only in California could politicians botch it so bad. Fires, crime, drugs, zombies in the streets, high-speed rail, all of this, and yet they still stay in power, and they don't seem very worried about losing that power. At least they haven't until now. Right now, millions of people living in this disastrously run state are watching Spencer Pratt and Steve Hilton valiantly attempt to end the misery. The collapse of Los Angeles, the biggest city in the state over the last 10 years, has been absolutely terrifying. As somebody that used to live there, I know it's really bad in L.A. Between the fires and the totally depleted quality of life, if Karen Bass is able to win and does so in as big of a way as some polls are projecting, it's time to get out of California. It's time to get out of Los Angeles. Spencer Pratt says if he loses this race, he's gone.
If I'm the mayor of Los Angeles, I will rebuild. If Karen Bass gets reelected or Nithya gets elected, I will be done with trying to live in LA, and I'll take that money from the Newsom State Park and the LADWP, and I'll go find somewhere that my kids will not have to see naked zombies, and I can have the last American dream somewhere. But I will not rebuild if these people are in charge.
I will not rebuild if these people are in charge, and why would anyone is the question. California's beautiful weather has subsidized the state's idiotic leadership for long enough. At some point, you got to cut bait and bail on this experiment. And 2 weeks from now, we're going to see whether or not California really is too far gone. A major shocker did come in over the weekend, though. Megan Daum for the left-wing Atlantic actually endorsing Spencer Pratt for mayor of Los Angeles, saying that if she thought any other candidate was viable, I would not be entrusting a city I love to a guy from the hills. But when the moderate Democrat I'd have otherwise chosen, couldn't raise his polling numbers above the low single digits, I crossed the Rubicon into the surreal. His mere willingness to acknowledge reality and enforce existing laws would be an improvement over the status quo. That's all people are asking for. Just enforce the law. Last week, Pratt was obnoxiously criticized by TMZ as he runs for LA mayor for staying at the Bel Air Hotel for a few nights after Karen Bass burned his house down. Brilliantly, Pratt owned all of that, quickly throwing together a very clever twist on the Fresh Prince.
Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I had to take a minute to run for mayor. I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called Bel Air. When a couple politicians who were up to no good started making trouble in my neighborhood. I got in one little fire, my mom got scared and said, "You're moving in with Harvey Levin in Bel Air."
Going after the TMZ guy, too. That's working. And it's actually working remarkably well. Remember, he's not supposed to win this race. A Republican is not supposed to be able to get anywhere near power in California. That's the way they've set it up. They've corrupted the entire machine. Spencer Pratt's campaign channeling the rage of California voters who feel powerless against a government that is destroying their state and there's no answer. Channeling all of that with these catchy ads that quickly go very viral. LA's mayor, Karen Bass, is a communist posing as a Democrat, coming up with the worst answer possible when asked on the local news how a reality TV star has become so appealing in this race.
Why do you think someone like reality TV star Spencer Pratt is doing well in this race?
Oh, I think he's tapping into the anger and frustration that people have. I think he's doing that, but I think we're a celebrity-driven culture. The fact of the matter is, though, is that I've been on the job addressing the concerns of Angelenos.
Do you think that Spencer Pratt knows what it takes to run the second largest city?
I don't think he has a clue.
A clue about what?
How to run the nation's second largest city.
Do you have a clue, you freaking idiot? Of course you don't. You have no idea what you're doing. The arrogance with that comment after what she's put the people of that city through for the last 4 years. Just unbelievable. There is no indication whatsoever that Karen Bass has the slightest idea how to run anything, that she could coordinate a trip to the grocery store, let alone run the second largest city in the country. LA would be better run with no mayor at all. If that woman were to disappear into thin air, Los Angeles would be immediately better. And the arrogance for her to mock anybody else's ability to lead. That arrogance is held mostly by elite liberals who drive right past the chaos that Karen Bass has brought in their G-Wagons. It's very easy to ignore the collapse of your city and all the hell that has broken loose when you live a mile above it all in a $10 million home. People like Chelsea Handler.
Oh, hi. If you're seeing this video, this is a reminder that a straight white male, former reality star that has no previous experience in government should not be a legitimate political candidate. Have we learned anything yet? The bar is on the floor, people, and I need you to jump over it. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.
Depressed white female who's made her entire personality not having kids. That's her take. A straight white male with no experience. How could we possibly put one of them in office, especially when we have 2 minority women communists who hate this country? How do you not vote for a minority woman communist who hates this country? It's too good if you're a California Democrat. How pitiful all this is. The LA Times also mocking his lack of experience, as if political experience is some kind of an asset in a state run by people with political experience that have destroyed it. What we're watching in LA is the same energy that gave us Donald Trump. Millions of people being led by the least capable people in their society. At some point, they just want to blow up the whole system. They want a wrecking ball. And LA and California are a lot worse off than Washington was when Trump came around. Somebody normal, somebody that's just a normal person with a normal brain who's just as ticked off as you are. This guy.
Turns out it's a lot easier to fight fires when there's water in the reservoirs. We're even allowed to arrest criminals now, with handcuffs and everything.
This is where Mayor Bass lives. You notice something? Or here, where Nithya Raman's $3 million mansion sits. They don't have to live in the mess they've created where you live. This is where I live. They let my home burn down. I know what the consequences of failed leadership are.
It's as simple as that. Just tell the story. Pratt is running against a communist and a socialist. Right now, it's a 3-way battle. Only the top 2 advance in 2 weeks, unless somehow Pratt can pull off a miracle in 2 weeks and get half the vote, and he ends it early. Socialist Nithya Raman, watching Pratt blow past her in the polling, has gotten very desperate, resorting to the usual slam, tethering Pratt to Donald Trump, the name you can't even say in California, claiming Trump is about to endorse Pratt. We've watched this for years. Failed politicians, very mediocre people like the woman on the screen, embarrassing themselves by screaming Trump as loud as they can as the only reason to vote for them, because they offer absolutely nothing else. Because that woman has failed at everything, including this. And LA will just continue to collapse if this man doesn't get into office. Karen Bass is attempting to kind of mea culpa the situation for the last 4 years of her disastrous leadership and blaming all of the problems on everything except herself. And she's going to fix them all if you just give her 4 more years. But her actual answers are telling the real story in this race. When asked about thieves stealing copper from the streetlights, you can't even keep the streetlights on in California because thieves are running around stealing all the copper wiring. Bass, her answer legitimately was this: zero interest in arresting the criminals. This is the solution.
We have a terrible problem in LA with copper wire theft, which means our street lights go out all the time. Well, about a month ago, I've rolled out a plan to install 60,000 solar lights, moving away from copper.
Because no one's going to steal a solar panel worth way more than copper. This is what you get. This is what they've elected in California. You could throw a rock out the frickin' window, hit a homeless guy that could run the city better than she can. Of course you did a homeless guy. That's all there is out the window. Nothing will change if these people keep power. And Karen Bass is confident that Democrats have enough control of the system to carry her to victory despite pure incompetence. At the state level, you have more of the same. A failed experiment of 16 years, disastrous policies, 16 years of single-party rule in the state, despite doubling the size of the government, doubling the budget, sending twice as much money to Sacramento as you did 10 years ago. Everything is worse for all of that. For all the extra $100 billion, everything got worse. Schools, business climate, everything. Fires, crime, homelessness, the zombies. If you saw these results in the private sector, you'd fire everybody. You'd clean house. That's what needs to happen in California, which is making the governor, as he runs for president, very nervous. Listen to this soundbite from Gavin Newsom.
I don't anticipate this need to be the case, but there is a break the glass scenario, and there's many people that have a deep understanding of what it would look like if Democrats were locked out, and we're going to do everything to make sure that doesn't happen. I'll leave it at that.
We got to break the glass situation. We're going to do everything to make sure that doesn't happen. Doesn't that sound like democracy? In a state that's managed to formulate the entire apparatus so Republicans have no chance of getting in. When they finally run it into the ground enough that Republicans might have a shot, Gavin Newsom has a break the glass contingency. Something that he can do to make sure that Democrats keep the stranglehold on power in California and continue to run that mother right into the ground, which is their entire agenda. And Gavin Newsom can't wait to do it to the entire country. Republican Steve Hilton is California's only chance at the state level at this point. It's very obvious. He is the sole Republican for the job. His debate performances have been incredible, a message that independents and Democrats as well can connect with.
High-speed rail is an example of the fraud. They've spent billions of dollars. I don't know where the money's gone. It certainly hasn't gone into building anything that actually works.
The fact that who's been in charge all these years? Some of these Democrats on the stage here, they talk as if we're in some parallel universe where Democrats haven't been running this state for the last 16 years of one-party rule. If we want change in California on all these issues, we can't keep doing the same thing over and over again.
And Steve Hilton, the Republican candidate for California governor, joins us now. Steve, good to have you back on. I want to start with Gavin Newsom and what you think he meant with this comment about a break-the-glass contingency if yourself and Sheriff Bianco are somehow the top two in this primary.
It's not actually what I think a lot of people have interpreted, Rob, because it's very clear from all the polls, and has been for months now, that it's actually not going to be the two Republicans in the top two because the gap between us is too big. Right. Sheriff Bianco is way behind. And the real point right now is whether it'll be me and another Democrat or two Democrats. And that's what Gavin Newsom is trying to ensure here, because his only concern is his presidential campaign. It's the only thing he cares about. The last thing he wants is his record as governor in the public eye as he's running for president. And so he wants two Democrats in the top two, because then they'll just be outbidding each other on the left, and there'll be no mention of his record. The other point is that if there's even a chance of a Republican winning the governorship, what a disastrous start for his primary campaign for 2028. What he's trying to do is actually raise the specter of two Republicans in order that Republicans split the vote. And that's what we can't afford to do. We have to unite now to make sure that there's a Republican in the top two.
I agree. I think Bianco needs to step aside. I think you've made it very clear that you're the guy that can handle it. You're the leader in the primary among the Republicans. And not to press on this too hard, but what do you think he's it almost feels like there's some corrupt mechanism that they have in that horribly corrupted state that you're in that ensures that they'll never lose power. I mean, the way he said it was so interesting.
Yes, it's really corrupt, and it shows you the arrogance of this machine, that they think they can cling on to power anyway. And so what they're trying to do, I think, is engineer this top two Democrat finish. So I think that what he's talking about is actually getting some of the other Democrats to get out of the race to make sure that the vote on the Democrat side consolidates behind their two leaders in the polls, Becerra and Tom Steyer. We can't have that as the outcome. That means the chance for change is gone That means we're probably going to lose all the congressional seats, the state legislature, voter ID. All of that is at risk if we don't get a Republican in the top two.
This new report out today, I saw two of the biggest teachers unions in the country accused of spending tens of millions of dollars simply on electing Democrats. It reminded me of California right out of the gate. About 10% of the budget actually spent representing the constituency, the rest of it on political activities and lobbying. Talk about how California over the last 16 years has become a single-party state, how they've manipulated that system.
It's exactly as you describe. It's the government unions that have driven that with their money that elects these Democrat politicians, not just the governor, but the state legislators. They control Sacramento. And the teacher unions, the prison unions, all these other government unions with billions of dollars when you add it all up. That's the estimate. It's over $2 billion that they spend when you add up all the political activity, is really ensuring that they cling to power. But the results are so bad. Highest poverty rate, highest unemployment rate, highest cost of living, chaos everywhere. That's why I think we can beat the machine this year.
It needs to happen. And my last question, I got 30 seconds left. Spencer Pratt says if he loses his race in Los Angeles, he's out. He's like, I'm not going to stay here if these people can keep power after what they've put the people through. I think this is kind of one of those moments where if you're living in California and your common sense, you've seen how bad it's gotten, you're thinking if they can hold on to power through this, it's over. Is that how you feel too?
I really do. It's make or break. It's now or never. These are cliches in one sense, but it's true because it's rock bottom for California. But you're seeing the energy behind Spencer's campaign, behind my campaign, and people saying to vote Hilton, vote Pratt. We got to save California. That is the message. The ballots are out. We got to vote, 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 and kick these Democrats out.
Vote and get them out. Steve Hilton, good to see you as always. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rob.
All right, Brian Jones is California's Senate Majority Leader, joins us now. Sir, good to have you. The left, I want to go off what we were just talking about with Steve. Left very good at consolidating power in your state. We see this with left-wing regimes around the world. How have they done it in California?
Well, I think
how have they made that, and is it possible for it to fall?
Well, it is absolutely possible for it to fall. And one of the points you made in the prior segment is the power of the government unions, SEIU, CTA, AFSCME, all of them, take dues from their employees who are paid by the state, which is taxpayer fund. And so basically the taxpayers are funding their own demise here in the state of California through these powerful government unions. The one thing that we want to also focus on here is the amount of fraud that is a result of that unchecked power when you have one-party control for the number of years that we've had here in California.
Well, yeah, you've got. I want to pull that up. You've got an op-ed for Newsmax listing off Newsom's fraud problem, all the waste and abuse and fraud under his watch. Warning, he's eyeing the presidency, saying it's Newsom's. Is your line here? It's Newsom's guiding governing model, and it has been since his first foray into public office. Failure upon failure, disguised by window dressings as victory and success. The rest of the country should pay attention because they will soon be asked to adopt it. That's brilliantly said. He's really good at screwing things up and making himself look like he did a great job.
Well, what he's really good at is communication, to be quite frank with you. And what he's good at is coming out with a well-written line that gets him a headline for today, promising that the details will be available tomorrow. And then tomorrow never comes with the details. And it's over and over and over with this guy, beginning with his very first State of the State address in 2019. And it's
Oop. Well, he's totally gone, isn't he? Okay. We lost California State Senator Brian Jones. That thing cut like a knife. We know where he was heading, and he makes a great point. That op-ed available for you on Newsmax if you want to read it from the state senator there, Brian Jones, the Senate Majority Leader of California. All right, coming up next here after the break, the latest on Iran as the president considers going back on the offensive. We're going to talk about that up next with General Keith Kellogg. And then later, news from the left, woke sports media snubbing the WNBA's top player for a bench warmer averaging 1 point per game. I wonder why.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
This Memorial Day, we honor the brave who stood watch over our nation's security. At PCmatic, we're proud to continue that legacy by protecting your digital world. From American homes and local businesses to our nation's government agencies, we provide the only cybersecurity that's 100% researched, developed, and supported right here in the USA. PCmatic, American made, American strong. Visit PCmatic.com today.
As the leader of the Coalition for Student Wellbeing, I believe students must be at the table when discussing youth mental health. Alongside their parents, kids are navigating a challenging world during formative years in their lives. Major life changes, academic pressures, and financial challenges can feel overwhelming. The type of stress can look really different for each student. That's why we need a thoughtful, comprehensive solution informed by young people. Get involved today at EmpowerOurFutureCoalition.com.
Some wireless companies say that they stand for something. What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot Mobile stands for. They stand for the lives of the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment and the right to protect yourself and your family. They stand for our veterans and first responders who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile today and support a company that doesn't just say they stand for something, but one that stands for the things that matter the most.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Most investors believe their IRA, 401k, and bank accounts are reliable and safe. But what if our economy becomes so dire that you're restricted from accessing your own money? The fact is that should your bank be in trouble for holding bad loans, the burden could fall on you to help bail them out. Even more concerning is that U.S. financial regulations allow banks to impose withdrawal limits on your hard-earned savings. But there's something you can do about it. Our team at Swiss America has a report called The Secret War on Cash. Learn how to protect yourself with assets that can remain outside the control of banks and other financial institutions. For over 40 years, Swiss America has been one of the most trusted metal firms in the country. So don't wait. Call or text the number on your screen today for financial peace of mind in these uncertain times.
We were getting ready to do a very major attack tomorrow. I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for 2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal. And if we can do that where there's no nuclear weapon going into the hands of Iran, I think, and if they're satisfied, we will be probably satisfied also.
Being very patient with this Iranian regime, the president delaying what he called a major bombing campaign against Iran that was set for tomorrow. Trump says they're in serious discussions, and there is at least some optimism by the Gulf states that a deal could potentially be made. It comes as the White House shot down the latest nuclear proposal to end the war from the Iranian Islamic regime earlier today, describing it as not meaningful improvement and insufficient for a deal after he really hated their former proposal. According to Axios, the new proposal includes more words on Iran's commitment not to pursue a nuclear weapon, but no detailed commitments about suspending uranium enrichment or handing over its existing stockpile of highly enriched uranium. So where are we at with this war? Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg joins us now, and it's good to have you back on, sir. Another delay here. I feel like the president's being awfully generous and awfully patient.
Yeah, Rob, thanks for having me. I cannot believe how reasonable he's been in this whole process and how measured he's been. Look, there's been immutable principles of war, 9 of them since 500 BC. One of them is simplicity. And I'll make this simple. What I'm saying is I think we should break negotiations off. We should seize Carg Island for a couple of reasons. One, it controls 90% of their economy. You put the whole country at risk, or especially the leadership. You could put a provisional government in charge, an opposition government, if you want to do it. The second thing I do is you go 300 miles to the east, you take Rock Island, which is their command and control hub for the strait. You put your Marines in there. The third thing you do is you line up your Avenger-class minesweepers and you escort everybody out of the Gulf on the Omani side if you want to do it, and just clear the straits out as going forward. Look, I don't trust the Iranians, the Revolutionary Guards, at all. And we're falling right into Arachi, their foreign minister, the playbook that he set out, and when he wrote the book on negotiations. This is what they do, and we shouldn't trust them. We should be very positive about what we're going to do, and we should take control of the situation.
Yeah, no, I agree with you entirely. My question for you is this: if we just continue to kill these guys, is there just another guy behind him and another guy behind him? Does this never end?
Well, that's the reason I said you go after a place like Carg Island. You take away their economy. You put them at risk. You strangle them. And you basically say that the government's going to fall. And then you can set up resistance movements inside, if you want to, inside of Iran. You don't have to invade Iran. You just have to take a couple of strategic choke points. You know, we've got military forces like the 5th Special Forces Group that can actually go into Iran and actually conduct kind of counterinsurgency operations out there.
I don't know.
Then you basically tell the Baji,
is there an appetite for that from the White House? I don't know. And my last question to you real quick, because we don't have a lot of time, but how long does it take to starve them out? Like what you're saying is, you just cut off all funding going in. But, I mean, you wonder, how long does it take for that to work? I mean, does that take months or years?
No, I don't think it takes years. It may not even take months. But what you do is you put them at risk. You realize that the world's economy can't take the strait being closed, as well as they don't have any income coming in from Carg Island. And basically they start to fall. You build up a resistance movement from within. Does it mean a regime change? Yeah, because you cannot deal with a theocratic government. These guys are thugs. And we need to understand that. We need to understand the second part of that is we're in a war. And war means you win a war. You don't just say, well, we're going to negotiate our way out of it. There's no negotiations. You basically say, you have my phone number, give me a call when you want to talk, and we'll go with it. But you put everything they own at risk right now.
So your advice to the president is bombs away. Let's get them. Let's take Carg. Let's starve them out. And
I'd starve them out. I don't see. I think we've bombed a lot of stuff out there, but you kill the leadership, which we've done, and you basically take everything there's survivability is at stake. You basically starve them out.
Starve them out. Starve them out. General Kellogg, good to have you on. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, so the president is back from Beijing, so let's talk about what this big trip to China actually secured. The White House says China is willing to help the U.S. mend shortages of rare earths and other critical minerals. CCP also purchasing 200 American-made Boeing aircraft, buying at least $17 billion of U.S. agriculture products, including soybeans. China will also be restoring market access for U.S. beef producers as well. A lot of beef can go to China. And resuming imports of U.S. poultry. Peter Navarro is a senior counselor to Trump for trade and manufacturing, joins us now from the White House. Peter, good to see you. How did we do in China, sir?
Well, let me focus first on this beef thing. I want to clear that up. We're not selling them steaks and hamburgers. We're selling them offal. You know what offal is? That's the stuff Americans don't eat. So it's not going to have any impact on beef prices here in America. Now, here's the big picture, Rob. Boss went over there with one goal. That was to keep things stable in a way which preserves what is a very strong position for the United States vis-a-vis China. All the tariffs remain in place, except for the ones that, not China, but SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, got rid of. That's number one. Number two, if you think about the Iran war right now, I don't know if your viewers know this, but every single ballistic missile Iran fires at Israel or Saudi or UAE or anybody in between, that's powered by Chinese rocket fuel, number one. Number two, every drone that delivers a strike across the Middle East, including at American military bases, those are components from where? Communist China. And number three, we pushed the Russians out of Afghanistan, then the Soviet Union, by sending the Taliban Stinger missiles, knock their aircraft out of the sky. China can do the same thing with a Stinger equivalent called man-pads, okay? Now, China, what we got out of that was they say they're not going to do any of that. Now, we're going to look very closely at the land routes. We've got the sea routes done, and we've got the air routes out. There's land routes that come in from Pakistan, from other to Turkestan, all sorts of places. We're going to watch that carefully, but so far, at least, they did that. That's a big deal. Now, look at what we've done, too, Rob. Venezuela, Chinese are out of there. Cuba, out of there. That's the Navarro Doctrine. And the United States military right now controls the Strait of Hormuz, which means it controls the supply of oil, not just to China, but to the entire East, okay? The Far East, as they used to call it. So
you're making
this was,
there's some big progress. I want to just ask you real quick, if I could.
People are missing that. That story was not told, Rob.
No, it largely wasn't told. And what you guys are doing foreign policy-wise makes a lot of sense when you look at it more broadly, and I understand that. I want to ask you, though, real quick, the criticisms over giving China somewhat of an economic lifeline as they're struggling in this moment. Trump invested saying they're going to allow Chinese investment into the U.S., claiming it would not be in sectors that they classify as national security threats. It does seem like Trump has changed his mind a little bit about the threat of China, which was something he's talked about a lot in his 10 years of being a national politician. Has he softened a little bit on the idea of China getting access to the United States?
Not at all. And again, that's a failure of messaging, perhaps a little bit on our part, because everybody's kind of over there. But the reality is, on the investment side, okay, all we're doing is doing what the Chinese have started to do to us and the rest of the world. We're going to watch very carefully what they try to put in. Think of it as an extra layer to the CFIUS process, which watches that. So don't expect any major change in the status quo. The same thing with the managed trade. I had the deficit, I don't know, it's like $150 billion a year now, direct from China. We're talking about $30 billion at USTR Greer is going to be looking at, and it's stuff like fireworks, which we don't make at all. So I think that the big picture here, it's like, look, what have the Chinese taught us, Rob, since the days of Nixon? What do they do to us? They flatter us, and then they make promises they never keep, okay? How about we take a page out of their book? So when the boss flatters the Chinese, hey, think about the historical arc there and draw your own conclusions.
Okay.
Connect those dots.
I got it. Peter Navarro, good to see you from the White House. Thanks so much.
Always a pleasure, Rob.
All right, brother. Okay. Trump administration cracking down on these teen takeovers after a ridiculous brawl inside a Washington, D.C. Chipotle. Coming up next.
O'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
I'm a big believer in super beta prostate. You'll notice less urges to urinate, and you won't be getting up at night for so many bathroom trips. I wouldn't say it if I didn't truly believe it.
AI company Palantir makes critical decisions for governments around the world. In 2019, Palantir bought $50 million in gold in case of black swan events. Not surprising what followed. In 2020, a pandemic shut down the global economy. And in 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. In 2023, we had a regional banking collapse. And in 2026, could a 1929-style market crash be the final straw? Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 888-528-4290 before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer 9 years in a row. Home of the No Fee for Life IRA. Patriot Gold Group is patriots protecting patriots. Call now, 888-528-4290.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time. Then I let in the light to help see more of the light inside of me.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone, building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
I got a little bit of breaking news here. Mark Furman, the LA police detective who rose to fame during the O.J. Simpson trial, evidently died last week in the state of Idaho at the age of 74 years old. You remember Furman was a star witness for the prosecution until defense attorneys used his so-called past racist comments to discredit him, even though he was a very effective investigator and put together quite a case that was quite obvious against O.J. Simpson for killing two people. Simpson, of course, was acquitted of murder by a very race-obsessed jury, one of the greatest miscarriages of justice this country has ever seen. Mark Furman, dead at 74. All right, Washington, D.C., a city that has been rapidly improving, but there is wild video showing that the work is not yet over. A huge teen takeover brawl. This is a Chipotle on a Saturday night in Washington, D.C. All these punks just going nuts on each other, beating the hell out of each other with chairs and fists. Imagine being there trying to have dinner, like the people. You can just see the red shirt right there with the little girl. Got a little girl wrapped around his waist. U.S. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro announcing a summer surge aimed at reducing this kind of nonsense in Washington by prosecuting the parents of kids that violate curfew and carry out these ridiculous crimes. Her reaction to what we just saw earlier today.
What we're seeing increasingly across the district is not only unacceptable, it is violent, it is dangerous, and it is illegal. We're looking at the parents to make sure that they understand that they are responsible for the upheaval that is going on in this district that is impacting everyone who lives here. This is going to be a strict liability crime and a strict liability prosecution.
Dr. Carol Swain is a tenured professor at Princeton and Vanderbilt universities, and she's back with us. Dr. Swain, good to see you. Going after the parents, you know, we talk about this all the time. One of the biggest problems in the inner city community is that the family structure has just been depleted. Holding the parents to account, what do you think of that idea?
I think it's a great idea, and that it needs to be taken across the country, because we know that these teen mobs, they go into stores, they disrupt restaurants, they attack people, and not enough is being done. And there is a racial dimension, because almost in all of these videos, overwhelmingly, it is minority youth that's engaged in those activities. And as a grandparent, and I have great-grandchildren, I worry about the fact that Black youth are being allowed to engage in these activities. The parents are not being held accountable, and it hurts everyone.
And talk about what we've, over the last 5 or 6 decades, we have watched that community get worse and worse and worse, which is they're moving in the wrong direction. What has failed them so greatly?
Well, you know something, I don't remember the flash mobs until the Obama administration. And that's when I remembered seeing in the news things that were taking place, such as these hundreds of youth going into malls, grabbing stuff off the shelves. I saw that. And then there was the knockout where people would just randomly punch out a stranger on the street. And often it was like an interracial crime. And so there was so much that took place, and it wasn't always the case with the Black community, was not always the case with Black youth. And I have been waiting for a long time for someone to speak out and to hold this accountable. And with Jeanine Pirro, of course, she didn't mention the racial dimension, but the Black leaders in Congress, the Congressional Black Caucus, and everyone that pretends to be representing Blacks, they need to be taking a leadership role.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And good on her for at least calling it out. You got to be sensitive in this country about how you say it, as you know, because we have a very racially charged country right now. But Dr. Carol Swain, we appreciate you coming on. Good perspective.
Thank you.
Trump on a primary warpath up next.
When you're in the news business, it never stops. News is always breaking, and it's my job to get you the news, no spin, no BS. If you don't believe us, just watch us.
Watch Finity, weeknights, only on Newsmax.
Little by little, age-related macular degeneration tries to take away your vision. You're not the type to sit back and do nothing, so now's the time to take action and make a plan with your doctor that includes PreserVision. It contains the clinically proven formula recommended by the NEI to help reduce the risk of moderate to advanced AMD progression. PreserVision is backed by over 20 years of clinical studies, and it's right here in the palm of your hand.
You spent a lifetime becoming who you are. Don't let AMD take that away.
It's your vision. Take action. Choose PreserVision.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 in a few months. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, so I went to the official source, Medicare.gov. I got the facts, and you can too.
An official message from Medicare. You have a lot going on. If you're ready to sign up for Medicare, find the most up-to-date information at Medicare.gov, the official source for all things Medicare. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The human brain is truly incredible. It's a complex network of 100 billion neurons that create cognitive functions surpassing that of supercomputers. Our brain controls our thoughts, our emotions, and our movements. Prevagen contains apoaquarin, originally discovered in jellyfish, and is designed specifically for the brain to help keep it amazing, so that we can continue to live our best life. Prevagen, for your brain.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
Spring. It's time to run it. Run it until the grass becomes a lawn, until the hedge is dug and covered. Then, run it again.
He's breathing. Okay, go again.
Nearly 5,000 people die from choking each year. That's frightening. I'm Dr. Ben Carson.
And I'm Arthur Lee. Well, there are ways to help prevent choking. Accidents do happen. That's why I invented the Life Pack.
Anyone can use this device, and it can save a life in seconds.
Just place, push, and pull. It's that simple. Please order one for your home, office, car, anywhere you eat.
Go to lifepack.net or call 877-543-3822.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Thanks to Jointivia, I'm back in the swing of things. Wait, $70 for a refill?
You gotta try Single Care. Just look up your prescription, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and save.
See why more people are saving with Single Care.
Welcome back. Got a little more breaking news. We had a shooting earlier today at a mosque in San Diego. 5 dead. The 2 gunmen, 17 and 19 years old, fleeing the scene, shooting themselves in their own car after fleeing the scene. killing 3 inside that mosque. Let's take a listen to police.
The landscaper's going to be okay, but we are still investigating that scene. It appears he may have been shot in the helmet that deflected and saved his life, but that is not totally confirmed at this point. A couple blocks away from there, we also received a call where a community member reported our 2 suspects in a vehicle, and it appeared they had gunshot wounds, and upon our arrival, we determined they were deceased. We are in the process of serving search warrants that will continue tonight and on into the days ahead. We're going to continue following any leads and any information that comes forward, as we're all focused on figuring out how this happened and what could we have done to prevent it. I will end by saying it's not a cliche. If you see something, if you hear something, if you know something, that is an integral part.
All right, so this is San Diego. That's a live news conference. Had a mosque shooting earlier today. 5 were killed. A security guard, it's described as a hero by the New York Post. 2 others killed inside the mosque. And then you had 2 shooters, police say 17 and 19 years old. They take off in a white BMW, and then that BMW is found not too far away with both of the mosque shooters inside dead from what appeared to be self-inflicted gunshot wounds. They just drove off and killed themselves. So there's obviously a lot of questions about exactly what happened here. We're trying to figure out a description of these 2 shooters after a mosque shooting in San Diego, but that was just a bit of the police news conference there. All right, coming up here after the break, we're going to go to News from the Left. Wealthy Hollywood elites showing off their low IQs. Up next.
The thing that annoys you the most about capitalism.
Where do I start? Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. This frame is an 8-base wrap, so it's going to sit close to your face, give you wide peripheral vision, stay on tight, but it also has a squared off lens for a versatile everyday look. And then you have comfort fit adjustable rubber nose pads for secure fit as well. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at shadyrays.com.
If you've lived through numerous presidents and multiple recessions, you've seen what happens to the world economy when things get rough. And if you're looking for protection for your hard-earned savings, then look no further than American Hartford Gold. Unlike stocks, crypto, real estate, gold and silver can protect you against inflation and recessions. It's a hedge against all the things you don't want to happen to your hard-earned dollars. And with American Hartford Gold, you'll get the #1 precious metals dealer in the country and their support in making sure your money is protected by gold and silver.
Makes me feel secure having that investment there because it's not fluctuating as the market is, and it's something that you can just hold on to.
In today's day and age, you want to invest in something that is real. I think everyone should pick up the phone and call American Hartford Gold.
American Hartford Gold is the trusted leader in precious metals. Our dedicated team will work closely with you to guide you through the purchase process to help secure your future. Plus, every purchase comes with a 100% satisfaction guarantee.
Owning gold gives me a sense that it's not going to just evaporate before my very eyes. I can hold it in my hand, I can touch it, I can go spend it.
I really look at American Hartford Gold in the category of a friend, somebody that I could trust and somebody that I have confidence in.
Whether you've never owned precious metals or you're an experienced buyer, American Hartford Gold's winning reputation and best-in-class customer service will keep you coming back for years. You've worked hard over a lifetime, and that money deserves the protection that you can only find in precious metals. When you call today, ask about the exclusive Freedom Package for new customers and get your free guide to buying precious metals. Call now.
As part of our special TV offer, when you call now, you can get our free guide and the Freedom Package. This includes up to $20,000 in free silver on qualifying purchases, plus free account setup, free shipping, and more. Call now. 855-313-1143. That's 855-313-1143.
Summer is coming fast. Now you can get your best summer body in just one visit to Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist.
This summer, I'm excited to not be covered up.
I've got abs again. Sono Bello put me in the right spot to just feel good again.
I feel beautiful. I went from this to this in just one visit.
I feel confident. Micro laser technology permanently removes stubborn fat, tightens and tones skin in just one visit with less downtime.
My shirts were extra large. Now I'm wearing a bathing suit. It changed my life.
There's no more frustration, just permanent results.
My stomach is gone.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 5-star reviews and expert surgeons. Call now for your personalized consultation. That's over a $250 value. Free. Easy monthly payment options make your best body more affordable than ever. Step into summer with confidence. Call Sono Bello today.
New Cologuard Plus?
Yep.
Colon cancer screening delivered to your door? Check. No prep? Check. Non-invasive?
Checkity check check. And it detects 95% of colon cancer, similar to colonoscopy.
Checkity check.
The Cologuard Plus test is for people 45 plus at average risk. False positive and negative results may occur, not for those at high risk. Introducing Cologuard Plus. It's the box that checks all the boxes for screening. Ask your provider or request Cologuard Plus online.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. Some really brilliant marketing here by the WNBA while advertising the Indiana Fever game that was upcoming. The league choosing to highlight the Fever's Raven Johnson on the right there over the WNBA's greatest star, Caitlin Clark. And they're trying to get people to actually watch this game, right? As the player in their promotional graphic for last night's matchup against the Seattle Storm. They use somebody that, even if you watch the WNBA, you've never heard of. Clark, the best in the league, undoubtedly, ended up leading her team in that game to victory with 21 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds. Meanwhile, the girl in the promo for the game to get people to watch, Raven Johnson, is a bench warmer who's averaging 1 point per game in this season and did not score a single point in the game that she was used to market for the game. Can you imagine if they did this to any other athlete? Can you imagine if they ever did that? I can't. Next up, rich Hollywood elites love to hate the system that gave them such a lifestyle. We bring you the red carpet for what I'm sure is a terrible new movie that glorifies shoplifting.
The thing that annoys you the most about capitalism.
Oh. Where do I start? The only people that really benefit are the top 0.003%.
Capitalism is a system of evil that is oppressing all of us in a hamster race in which the majority of people cannot win.
That you think that putting other people down is the only way that you can win.
The unfairness of the entire system.
Why are we all working so hard to make money for who? Who is this for?
Send 90% of your earnings from this terrible movie to the government. Put your money where your mouth is. And just remember, all these Nimrods get a vote, just like you. Next up, here in New York, Kami Mamdani quoting Ronald Reagan and attempting to correct him.
I cannot help but think of the words of our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. He famously said, "The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are I'm from the government and I'm here to help." It's a good quote, but I disagree. I think 9 more terrifying words are actually, I worked all day and can't feed my family. We are going to use the power of government to lower prices and make it easier for New Yorkers to put food on the table.
No, you're not. No, you're not. And the reason that nobody can afford anything is because the government is as big as it is. And it's just unbelievable to watch somebody that has no clue how to do anything run the most important city in the world and try to correct Ronald Reagan. Yeah. And finally, the Atlantic's Jonathan Lemire. You see him all the time on Morning Joe with a hilarious claim in his new piece. As Trump himself grows older, he says, traveling less, switching to more comfortable shoes, and seeming to nod off during meetings, his age isn't getting the same kind of scrutiny. He's claiming that Trump's age isn't getting the same kind of scrutiny as Joe Biden's. His recent behavior should prompt even more questions than usual about his stability, judgment, and mental sharpness. Here's the truth. Trump is The same guy we've been watching for the last 10 years. Joe Biden was dying in the White House right in front of our eyes, and Lemire still never said anything about it, but is jumping all over Donald Trump because, what, he closes his eyes during a really boring news conference sometimes? Okay. Next up, Trump takes a major victory lap over the climate cult.
Closed captioning is brought to you by MagnaLife Pain Relieving Foot Cream to target neuropathy symptoms.
The stabbing, burning pain in your feet is real. Here's what real customers have to say about MagnaLife Pain Relieving Foot Cream, the only thing that works for my diabetic neuropathy.
Available in foot care and diabetic aisles.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVEST.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
As history's preeminent expert on emergency communication, I fully endorse Rapid Radios. They are the only nationwide license-free push-to-talk walkie-talkies without any monthly fees. That's right, you get access to most carriers' networks without a contract. With Rapid Radios, you can communicate instantly from this Washington to that one. Isn't that right, George?
Darn straight. And I don't lie. That's my thing.
Now I know what you're thinking. I don't need no fancy highfalutin walkie-talkie. I've got a cell phone. Cell phones are notoriously unreliable during emergency and when you're in the middle of nowhere. Plus, rapid radios are great for remote adventures, emergency preparedness, and workplace communications, and for keeping in touch with your loved ones.
Hey, Pa. Over.
You make me so proud, son. Over. Get your family connected with Rapid Radios today.
Go to rapidradios.com and get up to 60% off today. Plus, free shipping. Rapid Radios. The best way to stay connected.
And finally tonight, International Climate Change Panel reversing course on some of its most aggressive doomsday predictions, moving away from its most extreme global warming scenario. They had projected 4 to 5 degrees Celsius warming by the year 2100, which would be like, what's that, like 10 degrees warmer, in 75 years? It's insane. That framework had underpinned a myriad of other analyses, predicting terrifying consequences for greenhouse gas emissions. The scientists arguing then that a broader set of models should have been used to try and assess this, saying for this 21st century, the range will be smaller than assessed before. And they're saying that the reason why is because of trends on costs and the costs of renewables. They're effectively trying to claim that the emergence of climate policy and recent emissions trends. The president obviously taking the victory lap, saying that this is ridiculous and it's all nonsense, which of course is the case because as we bring in Rob Finnerty here, it's funny because they're trying to claim, Rob, that the reason that we're not going to be 10 degrees warmer in 75 years is because we're doing so great with renewables. Have they looked at the rest of the world? I mean, how much crap China is burning every day in India and the whole, we're just lighting everything on fire and they're acting like because there's a couple Teslas in California that it's not going to be 10 degrees warmer in 75
They
years.
open a brand new coal-fired power plant in China every day.
Every day.
Every hour on the hour. Charlie, light it up. You got it.
Save the world.
Those windmills. Yeah, by the way, it's because these scientists have no idea what they were talking about. 500 years ago, they used to say Galileo was dumb because he thought the world was round and not flat. Rob? That's it
I
right
hear you.
there. Drop the pen.
You said it all.
Drop the pen.
I'm sitting in awe of your perspective.
Good to see you, my friend. We'll do it again tomorrow. Finity starts right now.
All right.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.